Alright everyone, I am very excited to announce it's time for Occult Literature video number 154, The Lesser Key of Solomon. It is finally complete after literally years of planning, and I had done the Gosha and released that, and it's actually one of the top sellers. I think it's in the top 20 easily. And the Ars Paulina, which is, maybe less so. I will be releasing as well. By the way, the Thursday Gosha on its own, it's about 110 pages, so it's definitely worth it. Link in the description to my edition of this work on Amazon. Second and third links are to my books blogs, which still have to do a little updating to add this title into the Grimoires section. You can find other books. It's got the Grand Grimoire, Grimorium Verum, the Clavicle of Solomon, all sorts of stuff. This is a compilation. The original English edition, from the Victorian era, from, now over 100 years ago, comes courtesy of none other than Aleister Crowley and Samuel Mathers. And they did a good job compiling this literature. It contained some Thelemite sort of inclusions. It also included the fifth book, the Ars Notoria, that I have left out, and I'll explain that in a moment. Otherwise, it's a compilation of four works: the Ars Gosha, the Ars Thursday Gosha, the Ars Paulina, and the Ars Almadel. And what these represent, and it's been pointed out by others as well, that they go in sort of an order. You start with the black magic, with the totally evil demons that are mostly malevolent, or at least gray magic style. Then you go to the nature spirits, the airy spirits, and the angelic, and it's sort of a spiritual progression, sort of symbolically. The Ars Gosha is basically 72 demons of intermediate styles of self-management in the sense of morals. Some of them are totally depraved, some of them are kind of benevolent, and basically summoning them for various goals, to obtain various powers, to be able to see the past, to be able to win at war, to be able to be healthier, destroy your enemies, stuff like that, cause gangrene and wounds and crazy things like that. The Thursday Gosha, actually releasing it on its own will require extra editing, because that's the second book. It actually requires some of the same rituals from the Ars Gosha. This is why they're always connected with each other. I'll have to include those there in order to differentiate the editions. And these spirits are more benevolent. Some of them are still kind of iffy and dubious, but they're like natural spirits. I believe the sides of the compass are involved, specifically in that one. Yeah, that's the Ars Thursday Gosha, not the Pauline art. The Pauline art has spirits that represent the hours, and those are airy spirits. They're benevolent. And then the Almadel is basically a sort of portable altar with a certain ritual system that's used to communicate with angels. It's a very interesting work. It is a compilation. Those four texts, and the reason why the Notoria is left out, those four are from the same century. And they even, in the case of the Thursday Gosha, it literally mentions the Ars Gosha. In the case of the Notoria, it is considerably older. It's about, I believe, 500 years prior to all these others, and inspired them in part. These are inspired by other texts in this compilation. I have removed, thus the Ars Notoria, not from the same era. I've removed Aleister Crowley's sort of asides, because much of it has little to nothing to do with the actual rituals. I've cleaned up the language, and the very talented Rita Metzner has re-illustrated the entire work. So the illustrations, not some cheap scan or anything like that. It's been entirely redone. New cover art, new forward, everything that helps to explain the text. Further, and it's with glee that I mention this, my edition will be the least expensive that you're going to find on Amazon. There are three other editions that at first look less expensive, but they're just the Gosha. They're using the title Lesser Key, and then sort of the Lesser Key hyphen, Ars Gosha. It's just one of the texts from these. It's the most famous. The Ars Gosha certainly is a well-known text. It is a standalone work of sorts. It can be used standalone. But as far as the Lesser Key itself, it is a compilational text. Again, links in the description to my edition of this work, as well as my two books blogs. Extremely important, extremely well-known work. If you're into the more odd side of magic, especially with regards to the content of the Gosha, this is a must-have. It's more well-known and more well-regarded than, as far as I know, any other grimoire. Like the Grand Grimoire is close, maybe the Black Pullet or something, maybe the Picatrix, which, the only English edition of that is from the 80s. You can't rework that. I'll have to wait till I'm like 80 years old before that'll be out of copyright. No, but this edition is entirely reformatted, entirely re-illustrated, language totally cleaned up, semi-modernized, at times fully modernized. Now, I left some of the thee and thou sort of stuff in there, but I took care of like the weird spellings, the weird true Old English spellings that were only included there as archaicism. Literally, this is something that like Poe and Lovecraft did around the same time it was in vogue in the Victorian era to deliberately demodernize the language to make it look more authentic. It's a real problem with editing texts from the era because it takes so much longer. So thank you, Crowley, for having a weird thing for that kind of language uses. You too as well, Mathers. Very talented, but they had some quirks maybe. So again, links in the description to my edition of this work, and I hope you enjoy it. Again, highly recommended. Probably the greatest of the grimoires as far as its renown. That's about all. Peace out.